Alright, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today I'm back with another video. Here, the Flyers pick up a 3-1 win over the Chicago Blackhawks. This is a really solid win, a really needed win. When you look at where the schedule is for this team, and you kind of look at where the Flyers are starting to get at, in obviously the standings, and kind of where they've kind of been in the same spot all year. But when I talked about the Stadium Series game, I mentioned in the game after Toronto that the Flyers had a 7-point advantage. If they won that game, they'd be 9 points ahead of New Jersey, right? That whole thing. Well, they don't win. And Jersey moved into 5, and it was like, all right, now don't let this slide. Because the Flyers have recently, they've done it a couple times this year. They have some good win streaks in a row, a couple wins in a row. And then it's turned into maybe 3 in a row, and then maybe 4 or 5, and that happened before the All-Star break. It happened earlier in the season as well. I don't remember at which point specifically off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look, but it did happen. And the Flyers being 5-1-1 coming out of the break, they've had some good wins, some good moments. One thing I noticed when I was doing the stat board that you see on the screen above me, the Flyers have the same goal scorers in tonight's game as they did in Toronto. Connecting got his 26th and 27th, and Sanheim and Hathaway got their 5th and 6th goals of the year. So that was interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before. It's obviously happened before, but I've never seen that. That's actually really interesting. The same set of goal scorers and twice in a set of 3 games. I don't think I've ever seen that before, honestly. But the Flyers, they get back in the win column. You look at the standings right now. The Rangers on an 8-game win streak. They're 8-1-1 in their last 10. They lead the Metro with 77 points. Carolina in second place with a 4-point advantage over the Flyers currently. They have 71 points. Flyers with a win tonight. Their 30th win of the season, the first win for Sean Couturier as captain of the Flyers. They're 30-20-7, 67 points. They have a 7-point advantage over the New Jersey Devils, who have 2 games in hand. Same thing with the Islanders, 60 points for both of those teams. Washington with 58, Pittsburgh with 56. Flyers are really starting to separate themselves. You have Jersey, you have the Islanders, but you look at Washington, you look at Pittsburgh. I know it's only a couple points behind Jersey and the Islanders, but the Flyers with 67, Pittsburgh 56. The Penguins do have 4 games in hand, but those games don't matter unless you win. And the Penguins proved last year that they couldn't even do that when they had to beat Chicago to try to get in the playoffs, and they couldn't. So when I look at the standings, I do see a little bit of breathing room that's starting to kind of come, and this weekend you can really extend that. That's why this game was so big. You got a big weekend coming up. You got the Rangers Saturday and then Pittsburgh Sunday. The Rangers, obviously, it's not as tight. It's the Rangers right now have a 10-point advantage on the Flyers, but at the same time, you want to pick up points in any way you can. The Flyers didn't really have a good showing against the Rangers. The last game, so it'll be interesting to see. It's the Rangers are hot. Shesterkin's been hot. They're good at home, good on the road. Flyers are a better road team record-wise, but I think they have played some of their better games on the road. But they have had some good games at home as well, especially recently. They've had some good home wins. So it should be a good matchup, and Pittsburgh's Pittsburgh. I mean, the Flyers, I believe this is the last game against the Penguins this season. Yeah, it is off the top of my head. Obviously, the last one being the night that they made the Drysdale deal. That was kind of a crazy night. I didn't really watch much of that game, but I do know the Penguins really took it to the Flyers when I went back and watched it up until that point. And it's a very important game, especially on a back-to-back too. So, but let's talk about this one, because this one was really, it was a big game, and Torts mentioned this one kind of scared the shit out of him type thing. I didn't really get that vibe, if I'm being honest with you. I was fine with going into this one because I was like, this team has proven that they've had a response all year. Like, in any sort of way, if it's been down. I mean, they did it the game before the Stadium Series. They were down 3-1. They had the second period and came back and tied it. Like, they've proven they can come back, stay with teams, fight with teams, just claw to the end. And they've been doing that all season. And again, they have proven that they could bounce back, and they did it again tonight. A 3-1 win. They go 11-7 again. Very similar lines. Tippett, Couturier, Atkinson, Farabee, Frost, Konechny, Cates with Paling and Hathaway, and then Delorier and Lawton. Defense, York with Drysdale, Sealer with Walker, and then Zamula and Sanheim there. And then obviously Sam Ersson in that, who I thought was much better. He had a really good save earlier. We'll get to that in a second. There was a shot from Sealer in tight for the Flyers. Good shift, good start. That's what I wanted to say, right? You get in. This is just one of those games that I wanted the Flyers to come out and just have a like what this, I tweeted just a solid win, and I said it right before. You needed a solid win in this game. You needed a win that you come out and you just stand out and you get the lead and you just don't give it up. You know what I mean? You needed that because Chicago's not a good team. They struggle to score. Obviously, there's Bedard. The Flyers shut him down all night. He had the one move on Sealer, but he didn't really do anything that Bedard has done, right? So, and the Flyers get the first goal of the game, but before that, Urson, my goodness, what a save on Radish. Beautiful glove save. And it's such a shame because for Sam, he's a guy that has played really well. Unfortunately, he just didn't have his best stuff on Saturday, and that didn't go too well on Saturday night. But he was great tonight. I mean, he made a really good save. I think the rest of the game, he didn't have a ton of high danger chances towards him. The Flyers really owned the offensive zone, puck possession department tonight and really had the puck for most of the game. But when Urson was called upon, he made saves, and they get the first goal here. The flex in off of Vlasic. It was a shot from Sanheim, and the Flyers started well. Unfortunately, they gave up a goal. It was 2 goals in a minute and 17, and Blackwell would tie the game on a 2-on-1. Unfortunate because Drysdale tried to make a play, slides out of it. It's one of those ones where it's, if he makes the slide and he gets the puck, it's like, all right, it's a really nice play. If he doesn't, it's a horrible play. You know what I mean? So it's like, I get why Drysdale's doing that. It's not something I'm going to harp on him for. I do think he's been a little, I don't want to say like all over the place. Or I don't know. I don't know if that's 100% fair. Maybe I'm just not thinking of the right wording, but I think there are some times with Drysdale that, I noticed that he might have a pass that's off going up the ice or something like that. I think he's still getting used to that. Like, I don't think we're really going to see him really get used to that until we're into like the middle-ish of the season next year, where it's like, all right, he's got some time under his belt here. He can really settle this down. Do I think he's played well? Yeah, because he made a play in the second period, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Really nice hit by Hathaway, connecting at a chance from the slide. Flyers had good pressure from that, and Hathaway's been incredible. I'll talk about that here in a minute as well. They owned a ton of possession, good period, dominating early, and Konechny just did what Konechny does. I mean, 2-1. I mean, it's honestly like when I watch Travis Konechny, it's like you're watching again. I think I don't know if I said this in the last video or if it was the pod, but he really does look like a young Giroux. Like the way you watch him and the way he plays with the bite that he has and all that, like he's turning into a guy that can do that. And he's had jump. He hadn't really scored a ton recently. He had the goal in Toronto, but before that, I know he went a long stretch of time where he didn't score. I think it was 12 games, a couple games before that. Beautiful shot. I mean, failed clear, and then he made something out of nothing. That's what I like about Konechny. He has the skill and to do that, where Tippett does it too. You know what I mean? Where you get him on a spot and he can just fly, and that's what happened. He failed to clear. He didn't really have the best shift. He even said it, and goes up the ice. Beautiful shot, 2-1. That ended up being the game-winning goal. Hawks had some pressure after Flyers take a penalty, too many men, unfortunately. Urson had a really nice save on Kurashev. This is the play by Drysdale. The puck's right at the blue line. Keeps it in. And what I like about Drysdale, he uses his edges and his skates in so many different ways that you don't really know what way he's going. You know what I mean? It's not like he's just like a strictly one-way skater or can't back skate well or anything like that. Like, he uses his skates in so many different ways and uses his edges in so many different ways that he can create so much like separation and room for himself. And he did it here. Like, he had just the hockey sense to keep the puck in the zone. Skates up, tries to make a play, or at least try to get a shot off. He doesn't have any room. Skates around, centers it in front for Couturier. Almost scored, and unfortunately it got blocked. It would have been Coots' first goal as captain as a Flyer, and then right after that, a couple minutes later, Hathaway scores 3-1. It's just one of those shifts where it's like Paling wins a puck on the wall, sends it in the middle to Cates, who's always in a really good spot, and Hathaway is slam dunk in front. I mean, it's one of those like typical goals from those three guys in that line tonight, because I thought that line had a good game, and Hathaway's been really good, man. Like, I tweeted it out earlier, and I think I think it's spot on. I don't know, maybe if you disagree in the comments or if you're watching this, but I think Hathaway has been Brier's best move so far. I mean, when you look at it and you could go down the line. If it's Stahl, if it's Paling, you could argue Paling, and that's completely fair. I'd have no problem with that. Some people said Drysdale I saw, and I'm sure people will say Drysdale. You haven't really seen a ton of Drysdale yet, though. You know what I mean? Like, you've only seen a little bit. Hathaway, you've seen in every game, every night. He does his job, and he's effective. Like, it's not like he's like Delorier, where he just, like, hits and stuff and fights every once in a while. Like, and, the whole thing about Delorier in the room, not saying that that's not something that is a negative trait. That's just something you need. But he does more than that, and he can create offense, and he does. He's got 2 goals in 3 games. He gets one here, and he parks his ass in front of the net, picks up the rebound, the garbage in front, and Flyers lead 3-1, and Bedard ends up going the other way. He sweeps the stick away from Sealer. Erson made a great save on the backhand. Frost had a really nice chance in tight. Third period, I'm going to be honest, very boring. I didn't love the Flyers' third period. It was kind of just like, all right, I would have wished they maybe, added another insurance goal or had some more shifts in the offensive zone, but I can't really say anything too bad. I mean, they held down the fort. A lot of what Chicago did was to the outside. Erson, did have to make some saves, and Hawks had some pressure late. They pulled the goalie around 2 minutes or so, and Lawton did miss the empty net late, which was unfortunate, but a win is a win, and, they just keep finding ways to win. I mean, it's impressive because, the Stadium Series looked so horrible with the standings, and now they're right back to where they were, 7 points ahead. So, if you can just, again, keep finding ways to get points, they're going to be fine. Because, with the separation and, again, 7 points ahead of the Devils, you look at the wild card, it doesn't really affect the Flyers because it's more Atlantic, because the Atlantic is stacked from... Let me just pull up the Atlantic Division. So you have Florida in first, 78 points. Boston 1 point behind them. They do play tonight. You have the Leafs with 68, Tampa with 65, Detroit with 64. Buffalo, Montreal, Ottawa, they're all at the bottom. It's at least a 10-point advantage for all 3 of those teams. But when you look at Detroit only being 4 back of third, and then Tampa and oh my God, and Toronto, I mean, it's... And I believe the Leafs are leading currently as I'm recording this. So, yeah, they're up 3-0 in the first period in Arizona. So I'm assuming that's probably a Leafs win unless they pull Leafs, right? So say that's 70. I mean, that's really tight in the Atlantic. You could see 5 teams in the Atlantic going. I mean, because the Devils, they're just... I mean, it's getting to the point where it's like it's so tight in the Atlantic, and then when you look at... And for wild card, standings, it's so tight there. And you look at the Metro, the Flyers keep finding points. So the Flyers can kind of really keep themselves here in that spot where it's like, hey, you keep finding points. If you get 4 points, if they win both games this weekend, that's 4 points. That's 2 less away from Pittsburgh, 2 less away from the Rangers. Keep adding points. I mean, it would be really, really good to see. And stretch a couple more wins together. It's multiple points. That's all it is, man. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. Thanks everybody again for all the support. As always, make sure to check out Maher Media and all the things that we do. We do a ton of stuff. The NHL followed us today. I mean, that's pretty cool. So thanks everybody again for all the support. As always, we really do appreciate it. I would not be in this position without you watching this right now. So seriously, I really do thank you so much. My name is Chris, and I'll talk to you all again soon.